I'll be using 7 yards of fabric for this dress, and it's folded in 4. The folded side is where the tape is, and the length of this flare is 34 inches, and I'm adding 1.5 inches to that to hem the down and to connect the upper bodice to it. Waist is 22.5 inches divided by 3.14, the formula to get a half circle, and I got 7 inches. I multiplied that by 3 and I got 21. So I'm exhausting the whole radius side. I marked 25 inches as the radius there, and I connected the markings. Now I'm marking 35.5 inches, which is the length of the flare. When you're done, connect the markings and go ahead to cut. You will have 2 layers of flare when you are done cutting, and it's a 180-degree flare. You place another fabric on fold. Here we have the satin fabric. This would be directly under the patterned organza. The radius is 7 inches like we earlier stated, and I'm marking 8 inches here. Measure around that marking to be sure of what you have, and I have 13 inches at the end of the day. I multiplied that by 2 and I got 26 inches above the original waist measurement. Next, mark the length of the satin. Here is 34 inches, is 1.5 inches shorter than the patterned organza. Place another satin on fold. This one serves as the underskirt. The radius is the same, 8 inches. The length is also 2 inches shorter than the satin cut earlier, directly under the designed or patterned organza. Mark 1 inch below the waistline. You place the first hard net there, then you mark 7 inches apart from that point till you exhaust the length of the satin. These lines serve as the point where the hard net will be gathered on. Flip it to the other side so you can get your markings all round the skirt. Mark the areas where you're unsure of the length and connect. Here we are cutting the hard net. The length should be 8 inches, 1 inch longer than the 7 inches length we made on the satin. 3 yards of hard net was used in total. Please check the link below to see how the pattern for the upper bodice was cut. I'll be using a red net as the lining for the upper bodice. I do not want to turn the neckline with a bias. For the satin serving as the lining piece, take away 5 inches from the shoulder. You'll need 2 satin, one directly under the organza and one to serve as the lining, and you'll be needing interfacing as well. Keep this aside and go ahead to cut the band. The length of the band is 27 inches and the width is 5 inches as shown. The other pieces are 11 inches by 5 inches and 9 inches by 5 inches. We proceed to couple the pieces together. Start with the upper bodice, place the net on the pattern organza and turn the neckline with the help of a hemming gum. So when you sew, the neckline is sealed and in place. You sew with half an inch as shown. Come in with the pieces for the underlining. This is the satin. I'm measuring where the armhole should stop, and you sew the upper part by half an inch as well. Notch around the area, flatten it out and place the seam allowance towards the lining piece. That's the piece carrying the interfacing and top stitch. Lay it down nicely and come in with the organza part. Notch around the neckline. Place it as it should be on the satin, and it's advisable to top stitch around the armhole area just to keep it in place. So I'll be top stitching it by half an inch. Repeat the same process on the other armhole, and when you are done with the upper bodice for the front, come in with the back piece. Here I am arranging the lining on it. Place your interfacing on the lining piece and come in with your hemming gum, and repeat the same process by sewing the upper part by half an inch as we did for the front earlier. Stop at the armhole area and trim off the excess hemming gum. Notch around that point, flatten it out and top stitch the seam allowances towards the lining piece. You have to repeat this process on the other side of the back. Remember, the back piece is cut in two because of the zipper allowance. I'm coming in with the sleeve. I'll be turning the hem of the sleeve with the red net. It's 2 inches shorter than the original sleeve length. Place the net on the good side of the sleeve and sew the hem by 1/2 inch. You can also place the hemming gum at the hem to seal it in place afterwards. Next, I will go ahead to top stitch the upper area of the sleeve to avoid them moving around. Trim off excess fabric if required. Proceed to join the shoulder. Here I'm placing the back shoulder on the front, leaving out the net that is the lining. Top stitch a little, then cover that area with the lining. Then you go ahead to sew all the way by 1/2 inch. Trim off any excess because that area is transparent to reduce the bulk, and it should align as shown. Go ahead to repeat the same process on the other shoulder. Here I'll be sewing the side seam as a French seam, sewing 1/2 inch on the good side, trimming off the excess, then I'll turn it to the wrong side, sew by 1/2 inch again. The French seam helps the wrong side of the dress have no rough edges. You have to repeat the same process at the other side seam. When you are done, it should look like this. We go ahead to measure the waistline. We have 24 inches here because we'll be needing the extra 2 inches for the zipper. I have gone ahead to gather the waistline of the organza, placing it on the satin. You can pin it in place to match up with the waistline of the satin fabric, and you top stitch it by 1/2 inch. While you top stitch, gather the organza fabric to fit exactly on the waistline of the satin. By gathering, I mean just moving the organza a bit, creating some pinch and pleats to fit around the waistline. You do this to secure both satin and organza fabric together. Next, come in with the upper bodice and connect it with the skirt part, sewing both pieces together by 1/2 inch. It is advisable to maintain a straight line as you sew along, and when you are done, this is what it should look like. The front part of the dress is ready and we are about 50% done. This is the sleeve. I'll be placing it on fold to get the side seam. What I do is I match up the sleeve from the shoulder area to the armhole. I get what's left and I sew down. But on the sleeves hem, I get the round sleeve measurement, and here we have it to be 8 divided by 2, which is 4. I'll measure what I have on the sleeve already sewn on the other sleeve. That way I get the seam allowances accurately. To connect the sleeve to the dress, first I have to bend the seam allowances down by 1/2 inch. I always do this to reduce any bulk around the armhole. I top stitch it by 1/2 inch. Match up the side seams of the sleeve and that of the dress. We will be sewing round by 1/2 inch like a circle. When you are done, this is what the sleeve should look like. Repeat this process on the other armhole and you will have both sleeves inserted. We go ahead to prepare the underskirt. I am marking the length of 7 inches to be sure of the point I am to sew the hard net on. As you sew along, create some gathers and pleats and be sure to sew on the line you have created. I'll recommend you start from the bottom of the skirt to the top. When you are done with this part, trim off the excesses that you would have, and we have one more step to make, that is 1 inch below the waistline. It is very important to get the lines of your markings so you know exactly where you are sewing on. The curves you get along the satin is very important to help the underskirt lay nicely and carry the weight of the dress properly. When you are done, this is what the underskirt should look like. Next, I'll be placing the right side of the underskirt on the wrong side of the dress. The underskirt here is laying on the upper bodice. This is what we call facing. I'll be top stitching it by 1/2 inch. Ensure to get all the areas on the waistline into your seam. Keep sewing a straight line of 1/2 inch from one end of the center back to the other end of the center back. When you are done, flip the underskirt downwards. You will find the wrong side of the dress looking neat and like ice cream. Turn it to the right side and inspect to be sure everywhere is properly sewn. Then we go ahead to insert the zipper. I'll be measuring from the neckline to about 18 inches where the zipper would likely stop, and from the waistline of the skirt it's about 8 inches. Here I'm showing you that after the zipper stop point, you'll be sewing the center back of the main fabric by 1 inch all the way down, separately from the underskirt part by 1 inch as well. Next, go ahead to sew down a loose stitch. The zipper allowance is 1 inch. I usually mark 1.2 inches, so when I'm done installing the zipper, I'll come back to 1 inch at the end of the day. Kindly backstitch at the end point. Lift up the underskirt and sew down from the end point by 1 inch to properly secure the center back of the main fabric all the way to the hem. You will repeat the same process on the underskirt part, but this time I'll be coming down from the zipper end point by 1 inch. This gap is to eliminate any tension between the lining piece and the main fabric. When you're done, turn the dress inside out to see all you've been doing. Take out any pins you must have used in securing the dress before sewing. Next, go ahead to install the zipper. I'll be installing the zipper off camera. Please check my other videos to see how to install a zipper. The zipper is installed and I'll be top stitching that area to keep it in place. Here is what we have. Here are the pieces for the detachable belt. I'll seal one end of the bands by 1/2 inch. Kindly note that I used a hard gum stay and it is 0.5 inches shorter than the fabric on all 4 areas. It is easier to tuck in 0.5 inch lengthwise of the belt and top stitch as against sewing and turning inside out. Top stitch all areas when you are done. Mark the middle point of the belt. This guides you on the point to place the bow design in the middle. While placing the bows, ensure that it is all well centered. Top stitch the center of this one and the smaller bow piece. The fabric used to secure them all in the middle don't have the hard gum stay. It's about 3 inches flat and on fold is 1.5 inches. Try wrapping it together tightly to top stitch the loop and cut off the excess fabric there. When you are done, place it on the dress to see how it looks. On the end point of the belt, I would advise you place a press button at the top and bottom to secure it in place. You can also go ahead to attach your label on one side of the dress if you have one, and at the side of the dress create a loop to place there just to keep the belt in place and it doesn't move around. This is the wrong side of the dress looking lush. The dress is finally done. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. See you in my next one. Bye.